Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call the Board of Adjustment to order. Let me announce all decisions of this board is considered final. If there's anyone aggrieved by the decision of the board, they may appeal to circuit court within 15 days of the board's decision. Also, no permit or license can be issued until that time period is expired. For information regarding the board's decision, the Office of Land Use Administration will be your contact. As you come to the podium, I ask that you give your name and address and direct your questions to the board, to me specifically as chair, not to others in the audience or to the staff unless we ask for clarification. And there's a 5-minute limitation per speaker, which based on our last minute, we'll have to strictly adhere to. 4 in favor of a variance request and 4 in opposition. So if you've got multiple people here, pick your best 4. And now we'll go to roll call. Oh, before I move to roll call, electronic devices, if you turn them off or on silent, so we won't have a distance. And a reminder to the members of the board, turn your mics on when you make a statement or call for a vote. All right, roll call. Mr. Davis. Here. Mr. Coleman. Here. Mr. Metcalf. Here. Mr. Burrows. Currently not here. Mr. Milling. Here. Mr. Golden. Here. And I'm William Guest. So that has 6 members. It takes 5 to affirm a motion either in favor or in opposition. And we have Mr. Anderson here as our legal advisor. And I realize many of you are here for probably the first application, which is a holdover, but I need to go out of order for one particular application because of an emergency. So we'll go to application, what's it here? 6287, is that correct? Scott Services? Yep. If you'll come to the podium and give us your name and address, and then we'll go back to the regular order of the meeting.
James Joyner, Scott Services Company, 7387 Ziegler Circle South, Mobile.
Okay, and your application is recommended for approval, subject to staff's recommendations. Is your client in agreement with those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions of the board for the applicant? This is 6283 765, Advantage Signs. Okay. As a formality, anyone in the audience here either in favor or opposition of this particular application? Yes, sir. You in favor or opposition?
Opposed in limited way.
Okay. If you'll have a seat, sir.
This is
for a
Scott.
minute.
And you said Advantage Signs. This is Scott Services
Scott
Company.
Services, which is item number 6 on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did get out of order. Scott Services. It's number 6.
Yes.
If you'll come to This is Scott Services, 658 Government Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you'll give us your name and address, sir?
Absolutely. I'm Attorney Ross Holliday, but I'm here on my own behalf. My property is at 609 Conti Street. It's right next to the proposed signs.
Right.
The only concern I have is about any increase in the volume of the drive-through.
Okay.
The lighting, the size, the dimensions. I'm not really opposed to that. I just would like the variance conditioned on no increase in the sound, noise.
Okay. If anything.
That's it.
Okay. But as far as it being illuminated and digital, you don't have any, as long as they downlight it in the evenings and it's not obtrusive?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Any questions for the adjacent neighbor? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. You want to speak to his concern? Is there any increase into the decibel levels?
No, actually, the sound quality is going to be better. It's going to be less static sound, so the sound quality will improve.
Okay. Out of courtesy to the neighbor, can you have somebody just kind of study that to make sure that it doesn't create a
Absolutely.
hardship or,
Sure.
obviously unnecessary disruption to the neighbors?
Yeah, and of course, the lighting and everything, the down lighting is going to be very low, very dim, so it's,
Well, I'm more concerned about the sound as it
Sure,
refers to
absolutely.
his complaint. Okay. Any questions of the board, once again? Any other individuals? Thank you, sir. Is anyone else in either opposition or have any other comments regarding this application? Is there a traditional sound level that's decibel level that's set, like 95 or 85?
Actually, there are requirements in the zoning ordinance based on the distance from the speaker. So 1 foot from the speaker, the limit is 84 decibels. And then once you get to 16 feet from the speaker, it's supposed to go down to 60 decibels. So there are requirements that will have to be met.
Okay, so if we were to approve this based on staff's recommendation, they would have to comply with those conditions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I've asked the applicant to consider doing that as a
Yes, sir.
confirmation for his benefit.
Sure.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, staff recommends for approval. Any further discussion of the board or comments? Chair will entertain a motion.
Move for approval, subject to staff recommendations.
Got a motion to approve subject to staff's recommendations. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And sake of the audience, we're going to get back on the agenda, initial order. 6273, African Town Community Development Corporation, 6445 Shelby Street. You gentlemen will come down and give us your name and address again.
Good afternoon, Jared White, 63 South Royal Street.
Okay. And your name, sir?
Yes, Cleon Jones, 751 Edward Street.
Okay, the last time we held this over to give you time to meet with the neighborhood and kind of try to work some of their concerns. Did you have that opportunity?
Yes, we have. There are 3 points if we can make real quick.
Yeah, please.
We've given each of the board members a copy of the Africatown Neighborhood Plan. This was a plan the City of Mobile commissioned. It was completed in 2015. Under the draft zoning ordinance overhaul, this would be incorporated into that ordinance and become part of our new zoning ordinance. In the meantime, just like the floor, I think it's to be given consideration in making decisions. I'd like to direct your attention to page 13. And if you look at page 13, this talks about plateau development communities, and the last paragraph addresses as a mixed-use town center. And it's the last sentence of that paragraph says a farmer's market or similar venue for selling locally grown produce could be located in this area, either temporarily or permanently. This is the exact area we're talking about with our application. If you look at the circle and Paper Mill Road Extension, Shelby Street. So the point here, of course, is that our application is consistent with the location contemplated in the neighborhood plan. It's worth noting as well that as part of this neighborhood plan, there was a steering committee that was involved in the many community meetings and discussions, and the steering committee included Mr. Womack, who spoke against the location, that he himself was part of the report that recommended in 2015. So we do think this supports our application because it is located in the mixed-use town center consistent with the plan for the community. The second point is after this meeting, we did have conversations with the entity that has offered rent-free use of this land, Chippewa Lakes. That offer, of course, still stands. We asked them about alternatives and basically had no other readily available property to offer. They have other property, but other property has commitments and opportunities that they're just not willing to give a free lease on. So this remains the really only location for free land for this market. And then the third point is Mr. Jones, and he can address this better than I can, but he's had numerous conversations in the community. He has a petition here that, by my count, 66 people have signed in support of the market location that's being proposed. He has speakers from the community here today. Now, of course, because of travel logistics and other disabilities things, not all the people who signed this petition could be here, but there are members of the community here to voice their support for this location. And it continues to be our belief this is the best location for the market. We took into consideration the other points that were raised, but just looking at the viability, we think this is really the only realistic location. And, you know, as we discussed last week, I think the board was considering a 2-year variance. Obviously, if it's not working out in the 2 years, you know, we would look at alternatives, or if we think there's a better alternative that comes along in that 2 years, if we transition to a permanent market, we could take into account the other opportunity. You know, the goal here would be this would let us get up and going so that the market could be able as soon as possible for the community.
Sir, do you have anything to add?
I'd just like to say that I'm appalled as to be here in defense of my community about a farmer's market. It seemingly to me, it would be a welcome to all of the community, some of which do not have automobile, have to get a ride to the market. This venue would give them walking distance within a couple of blocks. I just don't grasp why someone would be against it, because it comes from one or two people that says it's not a good idea. But not only that, but to try to put it on Chippewa, and they're trying to infringe on our community. Chippewa has been a part of our community all of my life, and whatever land that they have, they're trying to come in with the community. Certainly, Yorktown uses Chippewa land. Certainly, Hopewell uses Chippewa land. So it's not about Chippewa. It's about two or three people who thinks that they can live outside of the community and come in and influence the community in a way that's detrimental to the community. We are a food desert. And everyone that's sitting to my left and right knows that. And you can't buy a can of milk. And here we are trying to put fresh fruit and vegetables on needed people's table, and we got a few people that's against it. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant and his representative? Yes.
I don't have a question, but can you circulate that petition?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
Any questions, once again? We'll give you a chance to circulate that. Is there anyone here, in addition to these two gentlemen, that are in favor of this application today? Okay, if you'll pick two more to come down and speak on behalf of the applicant while we're passing the petition around. Take your time. Good afternoon.
Good
Your name and
afternoon.
address, please.
I'm Angela Mosley Jones, and I'm a proud resident of Africatown, or Plateau Africatown community. And I'd just like to state that the plan that you have in front of you was put together by members from the Plateau community. It was not put together by two people. There were several people that attended those meetings, and those are their wishes, and that's for people who live there. And there were people outside of the community as well. And Mr. Womack does not live in the community, but he was a part of that plan. He's very aware of what's in it. All we want is to have our neighbors live a better quality of life. And to me, it would be a blessing to have a place where they can come and get milk, salt, pepper. It's not a flea market. It's just going to be a plain place where they can come and get food. That's all. So I'm for it, and I voted for it, and that plan was paid for by the city, every penny of it. And everything in there was presented to the community before it was printed up. Thank you.
How close do you live in proximity to this location?
Right around the corner. I'm on Shelby and Edwards, so it's on Shelby Street near the church, but we're right around the corner. It's not far from it at all.
So it's convenient to you as a
Very
member?
convenient.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you again for coming today.
Thank you.
Your name and address, ma'am?
My name
Sir,
is-
I've got to stick to 4, so I won't be able to allow you to speak. I apologize.
My name is Thelma Maven Owens. I live at 1013 Wood Alley in Africatown, where I've lived for 67 years. I would like to add that with the elderly people in the community who have had fresh vegetables all of their lives, which would be attributed to their extended life, We have greens, peas, butter beans, okra, tomatoes, squash, peppers. These are all grown in the Africatown Community Gardens, of which I am the director of. We, in turn, supply our elders in the community with fresh vegetables at no charge. And I would just like to say that I am for this farmer's market, and I pray that the community and everyone else comes together and be for it also. Thank you.
With the size of your garden, how much do you see being contributed or sold to this market? Have you all
With the
talked about-
size of that garden, we have 18 individual plots out there. It is on 7 acres. We could actually supply the bulk of what is needed in there, and all that we can't supply, then we will allow vendors to come in, supply what we can't have, such as an out-of-season.
One of the issues that was brought up at our last meeting was the proximity of the garden to this farmer's market. Seems like it's a little more remote. How will you transport materials or supplies?
We have trailers, we have tractors, we have zero-turn mowers, we have pickup trucks, so it's not a problem getting anything to the market.
Okay. All right. Any questions of the board? Thank you again. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I apologize, sir, but we've got to stick to our format. All right. Anyone in opposition, you want to pick your 4? I'm sure we've got a few of you here today. Good afternoon. Your name and address, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Williams. Address is 6717 Spice Pond Road. I pastor a church called Yorktown in Plateau. The zip code, the address is 851 East Street in Africatown. I too have a petition with over 120 names saying that they do not wish to have the farmers market at location. I think we should understand that it's not that we're against a farmers market. It is the location that the farmers market will be. It could cause great harm, well, I shouldn't say harm, could cause great problem and congestion on a Saturday or a Sunday or a weekday when we have funerals and all other type of occasions there at the churches. So that's our biggest concern. However, it was mentioned, I believe it was mentioned that Yorktown was on Chippewa land. That is not so. Yorktown owns her land. And so that even though it doesn't have anything to do with it, our neighbors are very well liked, all of our neighbors. Mr. Jones is very well respected. But there was not a meeting held that was advised in the last meeting. There was not a meeting held that I was privileged to or invited to nor told of. And that meeting never happened that I know of. I talked with Pastor Brady and Pastor Tucker. They were not advised of the same meeting. So I do not know of a meeting that was called or presented to the community other than the usual Wednesday group meeting. So that's where we stand with them. But I would like to present
Yeah,
this
give those to
petition.
staff. I have a question. I'm having time to look at this site. Have you seen this site used for anything else?
Not since I've been there, I haven't.
Because there looks like there's been traffic and some maybe parking on this site.
At one time, I think it was back when the plant was open.
No, I
I'm
mean-
not sure what happened 14 years ago.
Nothing recent, though. 'Cause
Not
it looks
of
like
my-
there's been
no,
recent
sir.
activity.
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions of the board? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, please. You got time for three more? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Lamar Brady, 1737 Dunham Drive, Mobile, pastor of the First Hopewell Baptist Church.
Thank you.
My concern is very short, and that is, and I want to say for public records and for those who are concerned, that I, Lamar Frederick Dizelle Brady, is not against the farmer's market. Our concern is just the location. Thank you.
All right, hold on. Any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, two more, please. Your name and address, sir.
Good evening. I'm Major Joe Womack, African Town native and advocate. Address 206 Westmore Court, Mobile 36695. Just want to, if you all have not seen the African Town plan, in which I and Cleon Jones and others were part of putting it together, I suggest to take a look at it. I'll let you take a look at mine concerning. I also am not against the farmers market. It's just the location. If you look at the plan, and I've got it underlined. It says, second paragraph with the third paragraph, also shown are opportunities for mixed-use commercial development on the east side of Plateau. The east side, that's toward the river.
Which page are you on?
13.
Okay. Okay, proceed. I apologize.
Okay, third paragraph. On the east side of Plateau, those last few words in that first sentence, okay, where they're proposing to put it is on the south side. It says the very last farmers market or similar venue for setting locally grown produce should be located in this area. That's the, for either permanently or temporarily. That's the east side, not the south side. The east side talking about is around there by where the credit union is located. There's a big parking area there. Even though the land is zoned residential, the residents years ago had the forethought to give them permission to put that credit union up there and grant them a waiver so that they could put the credit union up there, so because most people that used it was in the community. And this plan that they just talked about, yes, I was a part, and they were too. It said, what did it say?
As you stated.
The east side.
Correct.
Okay, that's around there going toward the river. This area they're talking about is on the south side. So I just wanted to correct that. Give you a little history. The last shipment of slaves came over here in 1860. 100 years later, the leaders decided to become a part of Mobile in 1960. They wanted to become part of Mobile because they wanted the community to get better and grow. They wanted water, sewer, paved the streets. That was 100 years later. It was already incorporated. At that time, before they became part of Mobile, that were African Town community had 10 neighborhoods, 10. Each one of them had approximately 1,500 people. Right now, we have 5. We've lost Tin Top Alley. We've lost No Man's Land. We've lost the stockyards. We've lost New Quarters. We've lost most of Kelly Hills. And we lost it because the Mayer family owned the property and decided he wanted to move out the people in the property and sell it or lease it to commercial. This plan says no more rezoning. We'll stop. We're tired of being shrinked. The community still has 5 square miles, but we have less people, and we're trying to hold on to what we've got. This plan has allowed us over the last 2 years to be the most talked about the community in the entire world. We're on CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC. We even got 60 Minutes coming down here to do a newscast. They've been down here coming back, and HBO. Because of this plan, we put all that in process. We've got foundation money and grants coming down here to refurbish the community and build more land and refurbish the land and the property that is already here so that we can move people into the area. We have got to stop shrinking our neighborhood because right now, Africa Town is a $15 million community. Our plan is to turn it into a $1 billion community. And we're getting help from the National Historical Society, the Smithsonian, National Park Service. They aren't part of this because they don't cooperate with the community. They change their mind every 15 minutes. That's why the community don't trust them. Help us develop this community to what it should be for the community and for the world and for the city. It's a tourist spot that deserves to be recognized and deserves to be up here. Let's not shrink it anymore. Thank you.
Womack, hold on. Any questions?
I've got a question. Major Womack, as a person who doesn't have near the familiarity that y'all do with that community, I went out there and drove around to just kind of look and get a feel for after the last meeting, because y'all were talking about proximity and location. And one of the things that I guess I just hadn't been able to visualize is residential on that piece of property, because it's right there at Bay Bridge Road and Paper Mill Road, and the traffic is pretty heavy. And so in driving through the community, it seemed like to me within the core of the residential community, there are still a lot of areas that either can be renovated or, vacant land to be built out. And so when you're talking about the community shrinking and there not being areas to do this, it seemed like to me that there are a good number of areas more within the residential core to be done. Can you speak to that?
There are good areas. This is one of them. We could put apartments out there. We could put apartments right there. Like I said, Tin Top Alley was a neighborhood with over 1,500 people years ago. They remember, ask them. But when they decided to make the bridge longer, they moved the people out and made this 3-mile Africatown bridge that you now see, and that's why you don't have any houses out there. But you could put apartments out there. And if you look at this plan, it says that residential should be facing residential. In other words, if you put a commercial thing out there, it's going to be facing residential, and that's against what the plan says. But if you put apartments out there, they could face residential. And that's what we're trying to do. We're going along with this plan. This is a beautiful plan for the community. And we have achieved everything that you've seen in the news, everything you've seen at CBS, NBC, CNN, because of this plan. And we want to stick to it. This is a darn good plan.
You got any additional questions?
I guess not a question as much, just a comment. It seems like to me that what they're proposing is temporary in nature, and that it might be a good transitional use while these other things coming together that you've spoken of, the focus on the community, the additional money coming into the community, additional plans of how to develop that community, that it might be a nice transition to bring back some services and, I guess, things that aren't currently being provided while that is continuing to be developed. And I guess it just surprises me there's such pushback.
And I agree. That area by the credit union is just like that other area. It's on the east side. Put it on the east side. You got a big vacant parking lot there. Put it on the east side. You got a building that you could use as headquarters for the farmers market, and put something indoor for people that can't stand the heat. That's what the plan said. On the east side. It doesn't say the south side. They're trying to change they refer to the plan, but they're not using the plan. Let's be consistent, folks. Got it right there. He just read it. East side.
All right. Let's keep a little order in the meeting, please. All right, we're ready for the fourth. I think we have one more individual in opposition to the application. Good afternoon. Your name and address again.
Board. My name is Orlando Pogue. I reside at 650 Shelby Street, Mobile, Alabama. I am a citizen of the city of Mobile. I'm not a citizen of Jonesville. You understand? I'm a citizen of Mobile, Alabama. No one person can make decisions for my community. The community make decisions for the community. Now, this application, if you talk about granting it, it doesn't have the community involved. Nobody in the community knows what's going on. Nobody has been contacted. Nobody has been consulted. This is just something that pops up out of the air from a group of people that want to use other people's land. It don't have the community backing. I don't want the junk in front of my house as well. They have shown that they are bad actors without getting permits and putting that junk up in front of their house as it is. You got to respect the citizens. Somebody got to respect the citizens. Because these people do not even live in the community, yet they want to come over here and destroy our land. The people on Shell Street don't want that up there. I don't want it up there. The people in Plateau don't want it up there. The people in Magazine Point don't want it up there. The people in Happy Hill don't want it up there. The people in China Berry Lane don't want it up there. The people in Lewis Quarter don't want it up there. Do something to serve the community and not a group of people. Thank you for your time. If there's any questions?
Any questions? I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I asked the gentleman earlier, you're familiar with the property quite a bit from what I remember last time. Have you seen this property utilized for anything else in the last 10, 15 years?
Sir, that property used to be Hopewell Baptist Church property. It used to be a neighborhood called Tin Top Alley. You understand? Then they came back and tried to put parking lots out there. Everything that they've done out there has been to the opposition of the community. Nothing has been done with the go-ahead or the hearsay or the consultation of the community. It's always somebody from the outside trying to do something, make money off us without our approval. Not only that, it's still in the land because half of that lot belonged to us, the Allen family. All those fraudulent quitclaim and statutory deeds the mayor family has been ruled illegal years ago. That's not even real. So what you're trying to do is validate theft of poor black people land. And I'm opposed to it all the way, sir. All right? Any more questions?
I think that concludes mine. Any, once again, of the board? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, you get to respond, and then we'll conclude our public statements.
And I'll keep this quick. Referencing page 13 of the plan, if you look at the circle, which is on the east side of Plateau, and it says Legend Town Center, if you look at what it includes, it extends over there to include Hopewell Church and East Street. So the property in question is within the circle that's referenced in the plan. And I think you can easily just kind of overlay those two and see that, because you can see the church up there, that it's right here in this circle, and here's the property right here. So we, again, this proposal is consistent with the plan. There is substantial community support for it, and we would ask that the board grant this variance on a 2-year basis.
Sir, do you have anything to add?
I just like to, just semantics. Joe Womack talks about Tin Top Alley like it was a neighborhood. Tin Top Alley was a street. Lewis Quarter was a street. Right. So,
Please, everyone, go ahead, proceed.
yes, the neighborhood has shrank over the period of years. And that's our goal now, is to rebuild and rejuvenate the neighborhood. You know, it begins with what we eat and how we service ourselves. As a boy in the Plateau Magazine area, there was always some type of fruit stand in the area that you could buy fresh produce. And that's all we're asking. We're not here asking for a zone change. We're just here to ask that we are able to service this community that's in vital need of this kind of venue. And thank you for hearing us and taking the time, and hopefully we can get through this.
Okay, any questions of the board? I have a question. On the current pictures we have in the file, it shows 2 storage buildings on this property. Who owns the storage buildings?
The community.
Yes, sir, I can address that.
Okay.
They're owned by the African Community Development Corporation to be used with the market. When they first came up with the concept of the market, they came to me and said, do we need to do anything from a zoning perspective? And it was my opinion that they did not, that there's an exception in the zoning ordinance for civic space, which includes community gardens. And so I told them that they could put the buildings on the property and start operating the market. The city found out and said, no, we think you need to get a variance, so we agreed to come get a variance. So it was based upon my advice, they placed those buildings. Once the city made us aware that they did not agree with my interpretation of civic space, everything was suspended pending the variance.
Okay, I asked the gentleman earlier if this has been utilized for any other activity in the last 10, 15 years. Have you been involved in any other activity on this, with this property? Okay. No. All right, that concludes my portion of the variance request. All right, discussion of the board. Did everyone have the opportunity to look at the documents that were passed around? Have you gentlemen seen these? Okay. So was there initially some activity on this property that was suspended as a result of calls or anything else?
Well, this site came to our attention when we received a complaint regarding the placement of these storage sheds on the property without any permits. And we met with them and advised them to go through the Board of Adjustment process.
Have we ever had any other permitted uses on this property in the past that you're aware of?
The only previous use that I'm aware of was when it was parking for the paper mill.
Okay. Well, that's these petitions. Okay. All right, discussion of the board, comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it appears to me that there's a lot going on that we are not privy to, such as, call it politics, for lack of a better word. I've heard a lot about a plan. A plan is a plan. It's conceptual, just like anything the city or any other government does. It's not something that's to be adhered to in a 100% fashion. It's not of record yet. It's not been adopted by the city, just as the new ordinance has not been adopted. We talk about it, about things may change, but it hasn't. Some of the opposition uses the term we and they, like we could build or they could build apartments. Well, who is we and they? And the sites they're talking about, such as the credit union, are owned by a private company. They can't really discuss what can or can't happen on property that they don't own or control. The only person that I can see that has said anything about doing something other than talking about a conceptual plan is that man right there, the applicant. And it is temporary in nature. And as far as I'm concerned, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Got a motion to approve, second. Any conditions, time frame?
I think, yes, 2 years.
Yeah, last time we talked 2 years because of the port.
That's correct.
In the portable tent and everything.
That's correct. Motion to say 2 years outside.
Is there any other conditions that the city normally would have applied to an application like this? I want to make sure nothing's missed.
Well, we would certainly want to include the engineering comments regarding the aggregate surfacing and then traffic engineering comments as well, and then just after the fact permits for the storage sheds and any future structures placed on the property.
Okay.
Right. And I would also implore the request that the city keep a close eye on it to make sure all those are being done, so that if we do approve this, that what is approved is what is actually done. That's the only fair thing to the rest of the citizens as well.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion?
Not ready, Mr. Chairman. Go ahead.
Comment?
I'm not ready to vote.
Okay.
Yeah, not ready to vote. It seems as if we are dealing with a trust here. It seems that we're dealing with some misconceptions on the directional terminology, whereas the plan, as Mr. Metcalf has alluded to is not etched in stone, but rather it is a plan that the people of that community, since we've named the person, Mr. Womack was a part of that as well. The plan, as understood then, was that it would be on the east side and not as it is viewed and interpreted as being on the south side and in front of the church. I understand the diagram here that's been circled. But there's a trust factor involved here where the people feel as if they have been constantly robbed of their ability to have a voice in what happens in their community. The concern is that they are not against this farmer's market, but they are against the location. Now, what I can't understand, and I didn't see any evidence of the applicant have gone back and met with the people in the community to try to come to some reasoning on this, and it's been stated that no dialogue has taken place. But I'm holding my position against this being granted for various reasons that I've outlined, along with some other things that has been said. It's not a clear understanding of any of us up here of the undercurrents that's going on out there. I would hate to see this community divided, which is going to happen if either way it goes, one side is going to be divided against the other side. And I was hoping that we would have come to this meeting today with some resolution of agreement, and I'm very, very disappointed that that has not taken place in good faith.
All right. Any further comments from other members of the board? All right. This is obviously a difficult one for us as a board because we want to consider all viewpoints as it relates to an application. Some of them are much easier and less emotional, is a better way to put it. I don't know the area as well as maybe some of my counterparts on this board, but I understand what you've said today, and I don't think you're adverse to having a farmer's market, but as a colleague here said, it's not necessarily in the location that some of you may want. I tried to ask all the questions I think were pertinent from my viewpoint today to make sure that I didn't miss something. All right. We have a motion with a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion fails, so the application fails. Okay, I'm gonna give you all 2 minutes to, if you want to depart, so we'll take a quick recess, and then we'll resume with our meeting. All right, you all have a good day. Mr. Davis and I. Yeah. Mr. Burris Jr. He didn't show. Might have been a different vote.
Yeah.
What's that? You got one you have to recuse yourself?
That's what I'm just thinking. It's committed for approval.
Which one?
It's the Main Street Modial. It's number 4. I'm on their board, and I'm also on a committee that deals directly with this property. And it, you know, has been making decisions on selling it, so, but it's recommended for approval.
I think you still have to
Okay.
abstain.
You what?
Either abstain or recuse yourself.
Okay.
So you don't give the.
You want me to ask Doug real quick?
Yeah, you can, but I think we'll have some votes to carry it. I just cleared it up pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay. I get to be right occasionally. It's a coin toss.
Not the most.
Well, I know.
Top 5 or 6.
You said if it's
Ridiculous.
You're too heavily involved with that group.
Impossible really. Talk about other people's property.
Mr. Goldman's over there shaking his head no anyway. All right, we got everyone back.
Ridiculous.
So we're going to resume with our meeting. Next application is 6283, 5765, Advantage Sign Company. Yes, sir, if you're going to the podium. Give us your name and address, sir. Okay, and tell us why we ought to consider your application.
There's a monument sign that, the owner redeveloped that to a, I think a 5-10 retail building. Existing monument sign there. And, yeah, that's the monument sign there. So we wanted to do something nice for the tenants. We didn't know at the time, but 2 inches of the sign is touching the right of way. So they told us it was a non-conforming sign, but basically the sign is exactly the same, except for they just added the name of the shop, their shop names on it.
Okay.
So we got with the DOT and they signed off on it and they're fine with it. They just said that in the future, if there were a road project, that the owner will have to remove the sign, which he's fine with.
Is that the only sign that's in discussion today, considerations? They've got a large,
Yes, this is the only one of issue.
oh, all right, and I had to read through the narrative here to find where it's ready for approval, subject to the conditions, and you did obtain the DOT's.
Yeah, the DOT, I have the, sign off here.
Have you provided that to staff? Do they have
Yeah.
that? Okay. All right, anyone on the board have any questions for the applicant? Anyone in the audience either in favor or opposition today? Okay, we have none for the record. I get to see this area quite a bit, so I'm glad to see it's finally developed and it's sitting, yeah, it was, so it's been improved greatly. And the sign I can see an advantage because you have so many roads and service areas, and I think you actually are somewhat obstructed by one of the facilities to the west anyway, so that kind of gives you some line of sight. All right, excuse me, thank you. You have a seat. Chair will entertain a motion. It's recommended for approval by staff.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. We approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. All right, let me go to the next. 6284. And this is 4232 The Cedars. Good afternoon. Your name and address, sir? And yours is recommended for approval as well. Have you seen the staff's recommendations? Okay. All right, any questions of the board for the applicant? Okay, matter of record, anyone here either in favor or opposition to this application today? Okay, we have none. Thank you, sir. All right, Chair, entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Approve subject to staff recommendation.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next application, which is 285 Main Street, Mobile. Mr. Milling is going to recuse himself, and that leaves us with 5 voting members. It takes all 5 to affirm a motion. Good thing is, I believe the staff recommends for approval, so that should help your cause. Your name and address, sir?
Fred Renfrey, 261 Dolphin.
Okay.
I'm representing Main Street Mobile.
Okay, and as the representative for the applicant, are they in agreement with staff's recommendations?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant's rep? Okay, anyone in the audience either in favor or opposition today to this application? Okay, we have none. All right, thank you, sir. Chair, entertain a motion.
So move to approve it.
Subject to
Subject to staff recommendations.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, application 6286, 4350, the Scissors. Good afternoon. Your name and address, please. Okay. And your particular request is also recommended for approval. Have you reviewed the staff's recommendations? Are you in agreement? Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? All right. Anyone in the audience either in favor or opposition to this application today? Okay, we have none for the record. All right. That was a quick visit down here. If you'll have a seat. Chair, entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we've already held our hearing and vote on 6287, Scott Services. So now we'll go to, I believe, our final application for today, correct? Flip to the right page. 6288, 6282, Darling Ingredients, formerly Griffin Industries. And this is 76 Ziegler Circle East, correct? Okay, and your name and address, sir? Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? Okay. If I remember right, it was mainly access, correct?
Well, this was before the board at the previous meeting due to the structure that was proposed in the back.
Right.
And then staff neglected to see that also requested the aggregate surfacing, hence why the application for you. Yes.
Okay. I was going to say, it just seemed like we, for some reason, I was thinking this must be a holdover again. Okay. Any questions of the board for the applicant? All right. Anyone in the audience either in favor or opposition today? Opposition? Okay. If you'll gentlemen have a seat, we'll let this individual give his statement, please. Good afternoon. Your name and address, sir.
My name is Randy Poole. I am U.S. Machine Services at Ziegler Circle.
Okay. and where's that in proximity to this?
I have two businesses on that street, one across the street from there, and there, and down the street.
Okay, and you're in opposition to aggregate gravel surface? Any particular reason?
Yes, in 2009, we built a building and City of Mobile made us pave our roads, put curbs in it. And now we, building a project right now, we're waiting for the permit to go through. And now the city is making us, put 750 feet of sidewalk in that area. So we didn't get no waivers.
Okay. And tell me again the types of businesses you have in that area?
I have a machine shop.
Okay. All right. Any questions of the board, for the neighbor?
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you request a waiver?
Yeah.
And through, so you've been in front of us? Okay. All right.
How long ago was that?
It's about a year now.
Must have been absent on that meeting. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was-
not-
I remember hearing your application.
Okay. So, but the surface variance for the gravel, did you ask for that? Was that part of the planning commission?
You never applied for the variance for your parking, just for the sidewalk waiver, is that correct? For this permanent, yeah, that was in 2008. The city had just basically changed from.
What does that have to do with anything?
Process through the county, end of the day, that was just trying to prove in the county, the city took over that land, and annexed us. So we had to do it twice.
Right. Yeah, we've had to deal with some annexed
It
areas.
cost us extra $120,000.
Yeah.
And we just, we survived.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Hold on, gentlemen. Thank you, sir. Are you gentlemen either in favor or opposition here to speak today, or? Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Agnew?
I couldn't hear anything when you were saying that he requested the sidewalk waiver from the planning commission, not a waiver for.
Yeah.
As you stated in my application, there are 10 or 11 buildings on the circle that have gravel park. I mean, so what we're doing is very consistent with the area. Also, we're gonna put a sidewalk. We've not asked for a sidewalk, so we know we're gonna do that. And, sidewalk waivers are rarely granted, as you know. And so, we're not asking for a sidewalk waiver, so, we're gonna put one on.
But what's the primary reason for the gravel is what?
Well, we had existing aggregate material there, we're adding on to that, but we want to put some more, extend our parking area.
Okay.
That shows there what's existing, and the light shaded and the dark shaded is what's gonna be added. And it's all gravel. Been that way for how many years?
We got it 85.
Since '85.
What kind of vehicles?
It's, 18, well, not 18 wheelers, but,
Large
truck,
tank
truck,
trucks.
truck.
Yeah. So it's large trucks.
Yeah, large trucks.
And that pad that we approved last time, if you go back, the proposed cover concrete pad, that's where you're cleaning and
Well,
you're
that's
transferring.
going to be primarily our trailer parking, where we do transfer material from the trucks onto the trailer, so that it'll be contained, and we do something to hang or clean there on the clean.
Yeah, and I think I stated last time, my only concern about this is if you have some kind of release or spill, it's out. But
We've got the pad is designed to capture its curve.
yeah, it's holding water from the pitcher, so it looks like you're holding
Yeah.
material.
Yeah.
But it's the parking area, if you had a spill or anything release into the gravel area.
Jesus.
That would be, I mean, all the activities doing front building, which is also contained or on that pad.
Right.
If we don't have any other activity, then we actually have a non-exposure program.
My thought was, which would be easier to clean up? And it'd be easier probably to dig up the gravel and soil than it would be to tear up the asphalt if you had a release, but, so,
I guess it's possible, but it's,
everything, yeah.
everything's possible.
Do you know where the gentleman's facility is in relation to yours? Okay.
Chairman Guess, if you look at the map behind you, you can see that it's an I-1 zone piece of property. He recently had it rezoned, and that's when the sidewalk waiver issue came up. Due to his rezoning now, he's allowed to have aggregate lay-down yard by right, but any required parking does have to be paved.
So he's not exactly in the same area that's zoned.
Well, he was previously B3 as well, but he had his property rezoned so that he could expand his outside storage area without having to get a variance for the aggregate surface that he wanted to use.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. All right, discussion on the board.
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
A motion to approve, second. Any further discussion? I can say, and we obviously didn't get to hear your request. It apparently went through a different group, that this is consistent with what we've approved in other applications, and it's been heavy trucks and kind of the use. So I'm inclined to approve it as well, based on it's consistent with the type of application. So we have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, any other business today? Yes, sir. How about any cases or?
Yes, it's been happening. Discovered,
Okay, and how are we doing on minutes? I know you're just now getting back to. Pardon? I'm sorry?
One of them didn't call their appeal. The gentleman on Hallsman Road that has an old school where we denied a gravel park. Yeah. So, we was going to determine call, so we was going to call that appeal, but it was going to be a couple of years, and we got first part.
What about the welding? Didn't there, wasn't the case regarding the welding company that had to sign and?
Never, that's with the staff, it never.
And the last time I had checked was probably 3 months ago, and they had told the environmental court judge that they were going to be applying for a variance, which they have never done. So we would need to ask our zoning technician to push the issue in environmental court to have it resolved.
I think we denied it, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we
Yes.
denied it, and then, so the violation issued by the city went to environmental court.
Right.
And they're still working on fighting it there.
Well, I mean, I would just, that's been 2 years.
Been a while. I guess they think we're going
They
on.
ignored us.
Yeah. Okay.
We have many things that will last
Oh,
years.
I know. All right, back to the minutes.
City
Yeah, you're a loner, yeah. All right. Adjourn. For Mr. Metcalf and him, just part. Thank you.